Hi folks, you're very welcome back to Bosco's garden. It's 2023, this is our first video and we've been doing lots of work over the winter, so looking forward to showing you around. We're in the herb garden here with the pond that we put in back in 2020, and we have lots of herbs coming up. We have onions here that will go to flower this year. Heather there, and James is fishing over there. Lots of daffodils and snowdrops coming up now that we're in the middle of February. The elder tree above the pond is going to be huge this year. It's going to provide lots of nice shade. No frogs in the pond yet this year, but still it's really coming into its own. There's moss all around it, and yeah, it's going to be really, really well matured this year. In the little polytunnel, we have coriander, it's calendula just there, that'll come back. Under here we have salad mix that's just nearly ready to harvest. We'll be harvesting that this week. And over here we have carrots coming up, 2 beds of carrots there, and the coriander there was overwintered. We've moved the chicken house to out here this year. I'll show you why in a second. But I have 2 grapevines planted running up it, and it's just a lot better to have them out here. The little magic door lets chickens go out to the field. They go into the house at night, and so they're safe from the fox. All the wildflowers coming back here. There's going to be lots of red campion again this year. Yarrow and comfrey, hollyhock is coming back over there, and all these crocuses and snowdrops and daffodils, and there's some wild onions over there, and yeah, we'll have bluebells later on and tulips and lots of bulbs in here. All these snowdrops came from one clump of bulbs, and Mum split them up each year. They've been split, and there's plenty now because they've taken over. This is the new arched trellis entrance to the market garden. It's built out of an old trampoline, and I've made a trellis around it, and here I have honeysuckle growing up on either side. There's lavender, it'll give a nice smell as you enter the market garden when it's in flower. These are 2 sycamore trees that self-seeded by themselves just in, and funny enough on both sides, so I'm going to run them up, and they should provide some nice foliage on the trellis this year. So yeah, coming into the market garden now, this has changed a lot since last year. We had the chickens in there before, and we've moved them to where we saw before. It's just a lot easier to have to go through here with crates of vegetables without having to close gates, and there used to be a gate over there and a gate where the trellis was, and so you had to open and close 2 gates while trying to carry a crate, which was just crazy. So we have a few chickens left in there. We have 2 separate chicken runs. That one has our chicks that hatched last year, and some of the ones that are being bullied, we might put them in there just to stop them from being bullied. And here we have the worm farm that's been moved as well. It's the old bath, in case you haven't seen it before. We have worm juice coming out of the drain at the bottom, and yeah, it's great stuff to inoculate the beds with and make good compost tea as well, aerated compost tea. Rhubarb and strawberries planted down here, a rosemary. The compost bins are doing really well. I've been putting coffee grounds from a local cafe into it throughout the winter and turning it over and making some really nice compost. The coffee grounds act as a green, they're high in nitrogen, so they heat up the compost really well, especially during winter when you don't have much greenery to be adding to it. So it's a great activator for the compost. You can see all the new beds that we've put in. There's 40 new beds that we've done so far, just 10 more to do, and that's all set up with irrigation. Go down and have a look at it. So we've our spuds in here, really early spuds. As soon as they come up, I'll be mulching them so that they don't get hit by the frost, and just earthing them up with compost really frequently. When you're doing spuds no dig, you want to earth them up with compost, a lot of compost, because they go green very easily, which is a lot of trouble that I had last year. I lost nearly 50% of my spuds last year to just being hit by the light and going green, which is a real shame. There's Charlotte's, which is a lovely early potato, real tasty fresh salad potato at the start of the season. Lettuce in there, mixed leaf lettuce, cauliflower and Romanesco, and cabbage is going in there next week. It's still in the nursery. These are all empty still, but they're soon to be filled. Kale left over from last year that was planted last summer, and it's still going. The Cavallonero is starting to bolt, but the curly kale and the scarlet is still going well. Carrots direct sown in there. The overwintered carrots over there, we've just leave them in the ground throughout the winter and dig them up as we need them. They'll be coming out soon, and I'll be putting salads into those beds. Under the frost cover over here of salads already sown, rocket mustard and spinach and ruby chard. Parsley got hit by that early frost back in December, and it's just coming back. Wormwood here is doing well. It's coming back next year. I think it's going to reseed, but haven't seen anything come up yet. It's supposed to reseed, so I've been told. These are our plans this year. It's everything, every block and bed here, everything is put into a block and then numbered. So this is E1 here throughout. So it's a crop plan throughout time. So it'll be Brussels sprouts in 1 and 2, and then they're replaced with the spuds, and they'll be coming out at the end of July, and then kale will be going in mid-August on those, on E1 and 2. So it's all very organized. It's trying to put 3 crops into one bed throughout the season. So it's nice to plan all this out back in December when I don't have much to do, and yeah, it saves a lot of time in the middle of the season, and you know where everything is going and when to plant it. And yeah, I'd started it last year and it was great. Saved a lot of time. We have birdhouses up here. 2 birdhouses made. I want to make some bat houses as well. I haven't seen any birds there. I hope that that it's sheltered enough for them there. Might be a bit of a windy spot, but we'll see how it goes. There's more in the sheltered garden as well. And we had a blue tit in there last year. These beds have come on. I put in some manure that was from last year and then put some compost on top of them. Rhubarb in it. I planted a lot of cornflower last year, these guys, and yeah, they're a nice edible flower for the restaurants, just to put more edible flowers. Our calendula and nasturtiums were great last year as edible flowers, and the restaurants loved them. An apple tree in there, more rhubarb, some parsley in the middle, and there's lavender coming up here and there as well. It's the barrel for feeding. It just makes feeding tomatoes a bit easier for liquid feeds. And Polytunnel. This is the polytunnel that went in last March. So this is spinach that was planted at the end of the summer last year, early autumn, and we've had it all winter and had a steady supply of spinach. I've more planted coming up outside to succeed it, but that's been great. It needs to be thinned out badly to let some new growth through, but that's perfect. It won't bolt until probably April, I think, and that's when the tomatoes will be going in its place. This is the same thing here, rocket, planted it around the same time. This was direct sown, and that's starting to bolt there now, but this is succeeding it. This is more rocket, then mustard in the middle, and then spinach and ruby chard. This is all for baby leaf salad. Radishes over there coming up. Scallions that were overwintered, so we have some nice early spring onion scallions. This is Cima de Rapa, or rapini. It's flowering turnip, or turnip sprouts. So it's a big hit with our Italian friends. Some guys gave me the seeds that run an Italian restaurant in town, and yeah, they're looking forward to that. I already gave them some and I brought it in. It was like giving them a bag of gold when they got it, so delighted with that. It's very mustardy taste to it, but nice in a way. Kale still going. The Cavallonero is bolted though, but the curly again is in good shape. This is pak choi that I've just let go to flower throughout the winter, and you can see some stuff flying around it already. It's just something for the pollinators earlier in the year. Then down here, I've got these new beds in here. These will be perennial beds, and running between the two blocks of the more perennial beds. So I have strawberries in those, and it'll be just a mixture of flowers and edible stuff, stuff that's good for the pollinators and predator insects to attract them to the annual veg gardens. And so kind of mini food forests that are good for biodiversity and just good to look at as well. So up here under the black plastic is going to be a pond. It'll be the third pond that we put in, and it's going to be a kind of a miniature food forest in the middle of the market garden. So another thing to attract insects and birds and make it a more biodiverse place rather than just the middle of a field. So it's very exposed here, and there's not much birds in this part of the garden because there's not much trees. So I want to try and attract them in and have them integrated in the market garden, which is just the best method of pest management. And we're trying to do things in a permacultural way. We're not using even organic pesticides. We don't want to kill anything. We just want to create the balanced ecosystem, and it really works. We had some great success last year. We didn't spray anything, and ladybirds were everywhere. I've already seen ladybirds this year in the greenhouse, so I'm expecting them to be in full flight this year, and the soldier beetles as well. So lots to look forward to this year. So down here we have the salad mix again, another succession of it. So it's kind of going in every 2 weeks, so just to keep it rolling over. Again, rocket mustard and spinach and ruby chard. Strawberries here. With radishes, another succession of radishes, and coriander and dill, scallions, curried turnips, purple sprout and broccoli, which has been great. This was never covered with netting last year, and it got eaten alive by the caterpillars, and yeah, it just came back. It's just something to go to show that you don't really have to cover things. You can let things get eaten by the caterpillars and they do survive. It's the same thing with the Brussels sprouts. You might get them a little bit later, but yeah, this was fine, and it's just starting to put out. Now we've already taken a little bit off of it, or well, a good bit actually. We've gotten a few dinners off of it, but this will really go crazy in the next few weeks. And we'll have plenty to sell and plenty for ourselves. More radishes there. There's broad beans under there, which were a little bit late when I put them in, but they'll be grand. Parsnips here, just the end of the parsnips, which we've just been digging throughout the winter, and we've had plenty of lovely sweet parsnips just stored nicely in the ground. Ladies out here digging in the donkey dung. Stan. Here's Stan and Ollie doing their thing. It's crack. So this is the food forest after 2 years. We have apple trees, and yeah, I've explained it in other videos, but I've went through all the trees that are in it. Haven't done anything with this at all last year really, so it's just kind of gone a bit wild. There's just a few brambles coming up which I kind of want to take out of it. Yeah, it's had very little management, and I want to get a lot of wood chip to put in on top of it and take out all the grass and put in more herbs, but yeah, trying to do everything at once. But it's doing a great job as it is. Over there where the hens are picking on it, that's a perennial kale, Portuguese kale, and that'll come back. It's a tree kale, and good King Henry in there, cherry tree. Not much to see here really at this point of the year. There'll be lots of flowers coming up in that bank there, and the pond is very low. It's been one of the driest Februaries ever, I'd say. But there's still water in the pond. It usually has a lot more water in it at this time of the year. I think it's rained probably once or twice in February, and not much. So it's been pretty crazy. Some new willows went in. I planted those last week, and I have a few birch trees to plant in. I'll be doing that in the next few days. So yeah, I think the most interesting thing at this time of the year is probably the greenhouse and the nursery. So I think we'll go up there and check that out. So this is the hardening off area. I'll put this little wall in to keep the dogs out. These are walnuts that I planted last autumn, and yeah, this is all a bit of a mess really at the moment. It has to be sorted out. But yeah, we'll go into the greenhouse. the avocados are surviving at least. So this is where the action happens. We've got everything coming on in here, everything that's gonna be going out, and everything that is outside was started in here. Got lots of tomatoes this year, some really interesting ones, heritage tomatoes, as well as cherries and mid-sized tomatoes, sweet peppers and aubergines, looking nice. Everything's started quite early and it's on heat. Everything here is on 21 degrees and 18 degrees over here, with a heat cable running underneath and just sand on top of these beds to provide thermal mass and keep the heat in. I have these hoops, so on a frosty night I can put down that nice frost cover and just keep them nice and snug. This is a new addition as well for filling up seed trays. It's really handy. I can put 8 trays there and yeah, just fill them up really fast and then put seeds in them. It's nice and lightweight too. It's just as sturdy as it needs to be, and this is a mesh on top of it as well, so I can also dry garlic on it in the autumn. We'll just open the windows as well because it's just getting a bit warm in here and it gets a bit musky too, so we must kind of let some air flow in during the day when it's heating up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed the tour, be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell and tell your friends. We do lots of stuff on Facebook and Instagram under Bosco's Garden, and yeah, sure, check us out, and thanks for stopping by. Macho man.
Macho King and his cucumbers.
I wanna be a macho man. Macho man.
Come on, have a man fight 吧 ，closer.